world currency.
The New World Order.
Those are the roots of trouble.
I imagine that right now you're feeling a bit like Alice, tumbling down the rabbit hole. Let me tell you why you're here. You're here because you know something. What you know you can't explain, but you feel it. You felt it your entire life. That there's something wrong with the world. You don't know what it is, but it's there, like a splinter in your mind, driving you mad. It is this feeling that has brought you to me. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. All I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed. But I am asking your help in the tremendous task of informing and alerting the American people.
And now, welcome to another episode of Down the Rabbit Hole. Here's your host from federaljack.com. It's Popeye.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another live broadcast. It is Sunday, January 6th, 2013. The first Sunday edition of Down the Rabbit Hole here for 2013. And I decided to start off 2013 properly on the Sunday edition of Down the Rabbit Hole here by having episode number 2 of my new favorite side show, I guess you could call it, or sub-show off of Down the Rabbit Hole, which is Cutting Through the BS with Johnny English. And Johnny is back here for another 2 hours with me today. Johnny, welcome back.
Hey, thanks for having me, Popeye. I love doing the show with you, and this might, I don't know, I've been waiting for you to ask me to do this on a regular basis. I'm just waiting for it to, I'm waiting for it to come. If you need me, I'll probably be there. I love doing radio, and I love being on Orion, and I love doing radio with you, so I'm glad to be here.
Well, the first Cutting Through the BS segment or side show, whatever you want to call it, that we did, subtitled show, that first broadcast that we did, episode number 1 of Cutting Through the BS, was really popular. And actually, I received email from people telling me that they enjoyed the flow between the two of us, and that they enjoyed it was nice to be able to just sit down and listen to us go over things without putting fear on top of it and just talking about things, logically. So, you're my friend. I talk to you off air all the time. It's just, it makes for good radio whenever we're on together. And besides, I think the Cutting Through the BS side series is a good thing. I think it's good because it brings both shows together. It gets us sitting together. It's kind of like two vets / radio show hosts sitting together and just throwing ideas back and forth. And it really makes, we usually end up getting a lot of good ideas out and covering a lot of ground. And today is going to be no exception, by the way, Johnny, because I have a ton of things I want to pick your brain on.
Oh, well, good. I'm glad you have something. I've got a couple of things that I just got off your website. I have a bullhorn nearby if you'd like me to grab the bullhorn and scream at people. If that would make you feel better, if that would make some of the listeners feel better, I can scare the crap out of people if you'd like.
Well,
I'm not lying, Popeye. I really do have a bullhorn in the studio.
It wouldn't surprise me if you had a bullhorn. Mine's laying around here somewhere. I don't know where the hell it is. I think it's in the living room. I had it out the other day. I was bullhorning my apartment complex. I can be rambunctious, I guess you could say, once in a while. No, I was using it when I was looking for the cat, actually. Hey, it worked. I was able to get...
How does that draw a cat in? Wouldn't that scare it away?
Well, no, not when you make the stupid noises that cats are attracted to, and I know what my cat's attracted to. But that's not really how it helped. It helped because I was just bullhorning the entire complex, going, my cat is missing. Oh, dude, it was the other night, Friday night, before I went on live. I'll tell you this drama/comedy story really quick before we go on any serious things. Okay, Friday, my cat, actually Thursday night, the cat gets out. I've had him for 14 years, right? And it's not just just a cat. It was my mom's cat, and I promised her when she was dying that I would take care of this cat and not let any harm to come to it. So I already have that guilt, laying over my head, right? So we wake up Friday morning, and El Cato is gone. He decided he was going to go out. When he was younger, I gave him the nickname of Houdini because he used to disappear for 2 or 3 days. Nobody would know how the hell he got out or where he went, and he would just reappear. Well, he pulled this the other day, and luckily we found him after about 26, 27 hours, but my wife was a wee bit upset, and I was not happy, to say the least. And then I had to go out and fly her and walk around. Dude, it's like having a kid. I swear to God. Except if the kid did this, you could at least bring the kid home and teach the kid a lesson. What are you going to do to the cat?
Tape it to the chair, yeah.
Yeah, what are you going to do to the cat? You don't go out again. The cat's going to be like, yeah, give you the middle finger and go out as soon as it gets the next chance.
If it's kicking kitty litter in your face. Yeah, whatever.
Dude, I swear to God, cats have attitudes. That's a whole different show. But yeah, my freaking cat got out, which caused me drama all day. And we found him. We got him back literally about 2 hours before I went on air Friday night. It was just, you know how that is.
Our cat, the cat we have, will not go outside. It is cold now, so this is the cat that ended up in our garage and just, I guess, decided it wanted to live here. It was declawed and everything, so obviously it was somebody's cat. It had to be somebody's cat. We put flyers up, and nobody ever called or answered, emailed, nothing. And once it started getting really, really cold, this thing started whining outside the door, and we would feed it out in the garage and stuff, and we didn't think it was going to actually come in the house. Yeah, when the temperature dropped, she was more than ready to come in the house, and this is where she's been ever since. So
yeah, that's good, man. At least you're taking care of something. I mean, you gain really nothing by giving that cat food and shelter, so that's cool that you're doing that. I mean, you get a pet, yeah, but I mean, it's cool that you're doing that for something that can't help itself. And, it's funny. Because when you think about owning a pet and stuff, right, you think, well, it's, I had a dog or cat when I was a kid, whatever. It's just part of culture here in the United States, right, to own a dog or a cat.
Right.
But, the push more and more, and this has been going on since I was a kid, but now it's even worse. All over the place. They're not only, if you don't have your dog registered with the town, like the dog person or the cat person, in my town where I grew up, we caught them on my mother's property, like looking in her windows and stuff to see if she had cats. And if she did, to count how many cats she had inside. And then they would go back and look at the records because they sent her a letter and they said, oh, we saw that you have 3 cats. And our records indicate that you only have one of them has a license or whatever for it. And she said, well, first of all, how did you know that there were 3 cats in my house? Because they were inside the house. They're not outside cats. And, she told them she was babysitting him or whatever. I mean, this is like 10 years ago or whatever when she was still alive. But the point is, the town actually sent out the animal control woman, not to go out and find, cats or dogs that are strays, right? And try to bring them to the pound, give them food, take care of them, and find a place for them to go. No. They sent her out to walk around people's property and peek in their windows. And because she was a quote-unquote town employee, she would say, oh, I can walk on your property. I'm the dog catcher. Somebody said there was a loose dog. Really? We have a fence. So wow. You shouldn't be on my property. Well, and once they get caught, then they know that they really don't have any legal recourse to do that. But they just do it anyway, like they don't care. Seriously. They tried finding my mother for cats, dude. And this was 10 years ago, 10, 12 years ago. They've gotten worse now. They've gotten worse. I've seen them where they're breed-specific bans. And now, because somebody, we'll use pit bulls as an example. Everybody gets afraid of pit bulls, and they ban them. They play in everybody's emotions. Everybody gets scared. They ban them, and then they'll go to your house. And if this just happened in this one city, they decided that they were going to get rid of pit bulls or ban pit bulls. They went through this whole area, and this is maybe a month or two ago now, and they literally picked the dogs up. They knew all the dogs were registered, so they knew where the dogs were, just like guns. They knew where the dogs were. They went to each owner's house, and they took the dog. And they said, well, these breeds of dogs are dangerous. And they're like, but it's not a pit bull, it's a boxer. Well, no, it looks like a pit bull, but it's not a pit bull. But it looks like a pit bull, so we're taking your dog. And they took all these dogs and they destroyed them. They euthanized all of them. They were healthy. None of them had bit people or attacked people. They just went and grounded them up and did it. And you know what? They knew who had what dog because they had enforced a dog registration.
Yep.
Just like a gun registration or any other type of registration. I mean, how insane is that? You register your dog and they come take your friggin' family pet. Wouldn't happen in my house. You'd see that story on the evening news. I can tell you that right now. That would end bad. We're going to break. We'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to give a plug out really quick, and this is not a paid plug. This isn't, nobody paid me for this. This is actually what I just did before I came on air today. The plug I'm going to give out is for a organization. They're a nonprofit, which they just got their nonprofit status actually, called Connected Warriors. And it's free yoga for veterans. And you can laugh and think yoga, blah. You'd be amazed the level of intelligence the people that are running this organization have, okay? And yoga is not what you'd think, and especially not in this situation. They're using it as a therapeutic method for people with PTSD, nerve damage, other stuff. I just went and sat through it for 4 hours myself. I have nerve damage. I have severe nerve damage in my right arm. And I just sat through 4 hours of this their class, basically. They were training the trainers, and I got a chance to sit in and kind of be a guinea pig and sit down and talk to the other teachers that were there that are going to be giving the free classes to veterans and stuff. This is all free. They're not charging for this. They're giving back. They're trying to help take care of disabled vets. And I was just amazed at the level of humanity in the room. I really was. I mean, everybody there they were willing to listen and listen to what I had to say. And I wasn't even supposed to talk or anything. I was just sitting there listening to the teacher. And I would chime in about a few things here, giving them a perspective from a veteran's perspective, so they understood, because they're going to be dealing with vets. And they were really receptive. They listened very well, and their goal is to help out veterans. I mean, they're not trying to make money off this. They're not trying to become famous. Their goal is to help veterans. So, if you want to look into spreading this, this thing started off in Boca. And it's now in 9 states. It started off at a yoga studio in Boca with like 2 or 3 people starting this thing and coming up with the idea. And now it's spread to 9 states. All the other, and she talks about this, the lady, Judy, that I was sitting listening to. She's the vice president of Connected Warriors. And I was sitting there listening to her speak, and she knows, guys, vets, if you're out there, look into this program seriously. If you have nerve damage, if you have spinal cord injuries, if you have any type of injuries, PTSD, traumatic brain injury, these people, I'm going to tell you right now, you know how I am about vets issues. You know I would not, give somebody a plug like this or talk about them if they weren't on point. These people are on point. I met 3 people today that were involved in it: Judy, Dave, and Randy. And the 3 of them are just phenomenal people. Randy is a Marine Corps Vietnam vet. And he's taking some of these yoga classes, and it's helped him. There's a lot of people that are actually, this is really helping them. So, I mean, you could laugh at it all you want and say, oh, yoga, new age, blah, 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 blah. That's not what it's about at all. In fact, I find it pretty interesting that a lot of the stuff these yogis talk about and these yoga teachers talk about is the same stuff that we talk about here on my broadcast, or on, Joe and Tim talk about, or things that Johnny talks about and other people talk about. It's amazing how we're all actually on the same page. We just don't know it because we allow the petty differences in between us. Like, oh, they're yoga, they must be hippies, or you're this, or you're that, or you have tattoos. We allow these stupid little, these little divisions to keep us apart and not realize that we're all pretty much on the same page. So anyway, I want to give a big shout out to Connected Warriors. Check them out. It's connectedwarriors.org. Connectedwarriors.org. Check out the website. Contact them if you're interested in maybe opening up a branch in your state. Maybe it's already in your state. Maybe you can do a class in your local area. They're just top-notch people, and I wanted to give them a shout-out because I was just very impressed. I went. My wife is a yoga teacher, as many of you know, and this was like a certification class for them to be able to teach vets for free. And I went with her. I volunteered to go with her because in case they needed a guinea pig, and she asked me to go and try it out. So I said, sure, why not? I'll try it out. And I got to tell you, for someone who does not do yoga, for someone that has not done this stuff ever before, it wasn't that bad. And it was, even if you didn't do all of the exercises or whatever you call them, the stretching itself was good. It made me feel better. Certain, parts of my body that are usually tight and don't work right, I was able to stretch them out. So trust me, it really works. This stuff is, these people are, they're top notch. I don't know what else to say about them. I really was impressed with them. I mean, this is all volunteer. The amount of hours that they've put into this has been going on for 2 years. And now the program's really starting to get off its feet, or get up on its feet and running, I guess you could say. And it's amazing. So if you know anybody that's disabled, right, veteran, if you're a family of a veteran, the classes are open to veterans and family of veterans. And if you're like an old, Korean or Vietnam War vet, you can go. And this is open to, it doesn't matter. It's not just Afghanistan or Iraq. This spans any amount of time. If you're a vet, go. So if you want, just send, you can email. I'll give you guys the email. It's info@connectedwarriors.org. That's info@connectedwarriors.org. That's the email. And you can, again, just go to connectedwarriors.org and check out the website. I'm not paid to give them a plug or anything. I'm doing it because it's the right thing to do. And to be quite honest with you, I'm going to put a banner for them up on federaljack.com. So that way, if there's any vets out there, they want to click on it, and it's a resource. It's something that helps people. And they're not paying me any money to do this. They didn't give me any money. They didn't even ask me to come. They don't know I have a radio show. They didn't, oh, you do a radio show. They don't know that. So I'm doing this because I believe in it. I went through, just like I said, I went through 4 hours of it. Trust me. I was rather impressed. And you know me, I wouldn't give anything a plug if I didn't believe in it. So check it out, connectedwarriors.org. That's connectedwarriors.org. And Johnny, you're a vet. What are your feelings on people volunteering now and starting to step up to the plate and take care of veterans the way they should?
Well, any organization or any group of people, whether they actually have an official name or not, anybody that does that, it's a very good thing. And, a lot of these people come back, men and women, they come back and they've got, whatever the issue is, whatever the problem that they have, a lot of times they're just forgotten about with the government, and you can go back through the years and see where they're just, I've known wounded and, or whether it's psychological or physical, I've known these people in the past, and I've heard their stories, how the VA just turns their back on them, in certain instances. Oh, you're okay. There's nothing wrong with you. It's all in your head. All this other stuff. I really think it's a good thing. So any group that does this, I'm definitely for. And I'll put up a banner on KOA Live too. You forward that to me, and I will definitely get that up on my site too. I think it's a very, very good thing.
It really is. And they sat and they were so patient. They actually wanted to, it was being a veteran. You understand when I say that it's hard to get people interested in how, your feelings and how things really are. They always give you that fake smile and, I support the troops, but they really don't care. All the teachers there, everybody that participated in it, at least in the class that I was there today, and the people that run this whole thing, just top notch, because everybody was interested in getting involved, and their whole basic goal is to take care of vets. And some of them were talking and sharing experiences that they've had with people that were veterans that they know, and you could see it move them. Some of the people started to cry when they talked about some of the things that they had been through. So these people really care, and again, I get behind it 110%. Connectedwarriors.org, connectedwarriors.org. look into it, help them out if you can. If you can donate, because this really is a good cause that does help people. We'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen. ConnectedWarriors.org. So, Johnny, did you see that 75-watt incandescent light bulbs are now done? It is illegal to manufacture them or import them into the United States.
Yes, and 40 and 60 watts are slowly, they're right behind that. They're next to be ousted forever in the world of lighting. And, I saw that on federaljack.com, your website there. It was, and I had to, and it hit me. I was thinking, well, of course, they're going to say, well, we need to replace them with these much more efficient CFL bulbs. And if anyone knows what a CFL bulb is, it's the little twisty, curly bulbs that you buy, and they tell you that they use so much less power and they're so much more efficient and all this other stuff. But there's one little thing they don't tell you, or they don't advertise it on the box, and they should. Just like they should label your food GMOs if they're GMOs, but they should label these stupid light bulbs. And what is that, Popeye, that's so naughty that they put inside these things?
Oh, that would be the mercury.
Oh, yes. A little bit of mercury. That's not bad for you.
An old school incandescent light bulb, your lamp falls over or something, light bulb breaks. Hey, sweep it up. Make sure vacuum the glass up. Make sure there's no glass in the carpet or whatever. Make sure the floor is clean. And you're done. Throw it away. Put a new light bulb in. Hey, life is grand again. You have light. The mess is cleaned up. One of these things breaks. You got to call a hazmat crew. I mean, technically, this is what you're supposed to do, is call a hazmat crew. Now, how many people do you really think do that? You made a good point. The first time you broke one of these things and you didn't know about the dangers of it, you probably did everything the exact opposite of what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, I've broken 2 of these in the studio, and looking down the list of what you're supposed to do if you break one of these, nothing I did is on this list. Nothing. And now I'm kind of worried. It kind of bothers me a little bit. Because, just as an example, if you break one of these things, people and pets should immediately leave the room. Open a window and or door and air out the room for 5 to 10 minutes. Now, I might have been lucked out there because I have a window in the studio, and in the summertime, I do keep it open. Turn off the central forced air, heating, and or air conditioning system. Unfortunately, ours is downstairs. Ours is down here, and I can't remember if it was winter or summer that I broke this thing. And then thoroughly collect the broken glass and visible powder inside using a wet cloth. I did not do that. And it says never use vacuum cleaners or brooms. Well, guess what I used? I used a broom. So I've done everything just the opposite of what this thing is, what you're supposed to do if you break one of these things. And in lieu of a little bit of saving a couple pennies on your light bill, you're putting your entire family in danger, apparently.
Well, no, you see, you're being selfish. You're just being selfish. This is about global warming, Johnny. Okay, your damn incandescent light bulbs are the cause of global warming and the reason why Man-Bear Pig is running around the world causing havoc. If you don't have your 75-watt incandescent light bulb, Man-Bear Pig doesn't win. Okay, that's how this works.
Man-Bear Pig, huh?
It's so stupid, dude. For real. I mean, just banning incandescent light bulbs. We have really? You guys don't have anything else more important to be focusing on? Light bulbs.
They have a whole division, dude. They have people assigned to light bulb duty, and that's all they do is worry about light bulbs.
And what are they going to do now? Is it going to be like the Green Police commercial? Remember the Green Police commercial on the Super Bowl? I think it was 2010 where they were running around. If you remember, in there, they go up to the one guy. They're like, "Sir, did you put this light bulb in here on his porch light?" And it's a regular incandescent light bulb. And he's like, "Yeah." And they're like, "You have to come with us." And they lock him up for putting a regular incandescent light bulb in his front porch light. The terrorist. He's obviously working for Al-Qaeda, Johnny. He wants to use regular light bulbs.
Yeah, obviously,
it's un-American, I tell you. It's just unbelievable, dude. I mean, this is not what the Founding Fathers had intended, people. In fact, the government that we currently have right now is the very form of government that our Founding Fathers had warned us about, just so everybody knows. Okay?
Yeah, it was the reason everything was written the way it was written, because they probably foresaw all this happening. as the government grew, as the population grows, and then things just get out of control.
I guess we're just going to have an incandescent light bulb registration period now. Like you can have them for right now. There's no confiscation, but we're going to make everybody register their light bulbs because it's for the safety of everybody. Okay.
Well, yeah, all those stores that still have them, they're allowed to sell their stock, so they don't have to like give them up and lose money. So they were nice enough in that regard. But yes, from this moment on, from January 1st on, you must register your incandescent light bulbs so they know that you have them.
Yeah, and then what's going to happen is eventually it'll lead to incandescent light bulb confiscation because that's what happens with registration. I mean, look, we were talking about dogs a little while ago, and that's not a made-up story. That's the truth. I forget exactly what city it was in. It was like the beginning of December, the first or second week. They rounded up a whole bunch, like this whole one section of the city. They went and rounded up all these dogs, and a lot of them were not pit bulls, but they don't care. And they knew they knew who had each dog. Why? Because they made them register the dogs. Yep. So then they just went back through their little list and went, oh, John Q. Public at 123 Main Street has such and such a dog. Well, if they do it with dogs, don't you think they do it with guns or gold or food or incandescent light bulbs or whatever the hell else they decide that they have to round up and get from you?
Yeah, what they'll do is they'll just put a tax. I mean, the carbon tax thing, you're just going to get an extra tax. If you have so many incandescents registered in your house, then you got to pay an extra tax. That's why they'll do it. That's why they do everything. They just throw a tax on it.
Well, that's their answer for everything. Laws are a tax.
Well, that's what we did. We talked about last night. I was talking about it on the show last night. Is all these stupid laws, all these dumb laws, seatbelt laws, all these different laws like that, they're not there to save you. They're not there to protect you. They're there to rape you of your money and to drain your bank account. They're not. That's the only thing it's there for. If we all went by all the laws and everybody in the United States went by the law, by the book, every single one, and they can never give out another ticket, some of these cities would literally go broke. You know, they would lose everything because all that extra fine money would be gone.
Yeah, I have no respect for guys that, like, this is why I don't want to be a cop, because I said I had a chance to be a cop when I was younger. I had a chance to go work for New Jersey State Police, and I turned it down. And everybody was like, what are you, crazy? That's a great job. Why would you not want to? And I put myself through the ringer to, get the job, to qualify for it and everything. And once I made it out on the other side and I qualified for it and they offered me the job, I was like, no, I don't want it. And everybody was like, what? And what had happened was, leading up to that point, I had sat down and thought about it, and I realized that the world's a much different place. I mean, there are bad guys, but it's not like they make it out to be. And I knew that more than likely I'd be sitting there writing tickets. And that's not me. I can't just be a dick and give somebody a ticket to make the state money. That's not how I roll. I've never been like that. And I'm not one of these guys that could be like, well, I'm just doing my duty. I'm doing my civic job. I'm Johnny Law. No, I can't. I can't be like that. So I always said, unless I could go, if I'm going to be a cop, I would have to be guaranteed as soon as I got out of the police academy, they put me in a unit or something, so wherever it was, that I was able to actually do something and go after real, quote unquote, bad guys. I wouldn't want to be sitting in a squad car chasing some teenager who just got his license because he's going 15 miles an hour over the speed limit. Do you think giving the kid a ticket is really going to teach him a lesson? No, especially if he's got rich parents. I know people that get tickets, is their parents are doctors, lawyers, whatever. They don't care. They laugh it off. If they can pay the ticket off and there's really no points on it, they don't care. And even if there are points, they don't care. I mean, if you have money and the only repercussions you get, 3 or 4 times is a ticket, which is just a financial, slap on the wrist, I guess you could say. These people don't care, dude. They keep doing it. As long as they got the money to pay for it. And all that does is rob the people that can't afford it, right?
Oh, exactly.
And it's just, I couldn't do it. If I was going to be a cop, I would have to be like stopping bad guys, Like, I'll go out and get in a fight with a bad guy trying to rape a woman. I'll kick his ass. No problems there. But like chasing somebody down because they blew a stop sign and it was 3 o'clock in the morning and there was no one around.
Dude, I've had a cop do a U-turn in one of the busiest intersections in the city. And he did a U-turn to pull me over because he didn't see me wearing my seatbelt. I mean, literally, without a, he didn't even turn his lights on or anything. I mean, think of the accident that could have caused.
Well, you know, he's doing you a favor, though, Johnny, because he's...
Oh, I forgot. I'm sorry.
He's looking out for you, him and his cape.
I'm safe now.
It's just... And of course, there are good cops that have to enforce this crap. But again, I couldn't do it. That's why I turned the offer down. It's just, I couldn't write tickets to somebody. To me, that's a waste of time, and it's just a dick move. We're going to break. We'll be right back. It's all about fundraising. So, since we were talking about registering dangerous incandescent light bulbs, you know, the assault light bulbs that they've now banned, we have to register assault light bulbs, and we have to register assault dogs, apparently. You know, of course I'm being facetious, but seriously, what else are we going to register? Why don't we just register everything, and then they can come confiscate whatever the hell they want, whenever the hell they want, right? Wouldn't that make it? Why don't we just make tyranny easier for these scumbags?
I'll tell you right now, there's a calendar. My wife has a calendar on the refrigerator, and I've paper cut myself at least 3 times in the last week. Shutting the door, it flies, the wind catches the calendar just so, and when I whip my hand away from the door, it sliced my finger. So I'm here now to say we need to register calendars or any sort of paper substance with a magnet that you can stick on a refrigerator.
You know, that's a good point. We need... Look, it's time for paper control. Okay? For too long, too many people have gotten paper cuts. Every day in this country, at least 5,000 or 6,000 people suffer paper cuts daily. Now, what are we going to do about that? I mean, this is a serious, serious health issue. I suggest we call up CNN and Sanjay Gupta and have him do a whole special on it, like he did on guns the other day, and how doctors should have a say about guns. You know, doctors don't know their ass from a hole in the ground. They don't even know what's in the friggin' shots that they give people. So my doctor shouldn't be telling me anything about firearms, okay? My doctor needs to educate himself first before he tries to tell me anything. They don't even know, again, what's in the frigging vaccines. So don't try to tell me, well, doctors, you know, guns do kill people, and that is public health. Well, cars kill people, too. Does the doctor ask people, do you drive like an a-hole? What kind of car do you own? Do you own a sports car? Do you own a family van? Do you own a SUV? Do you own a little compact? No. More people die from car accidents each year than gun, shootings and quote-unquote gun crimes.
Have you seen how some of these doctors and lawyers drive in their fancy Mercedes? I
used to work for AAA when I was younger. Every one of them is a loser, dude. I mean, half of these doctors and stuff, I mean, a lot of them are, I shouldn't say half, okay, it's a big number, but we'll say a quarter of them have their own, like, drug problems where they're stealing drugs from the hospital and stuff, right? Maybe a little less. Maybe another quarter of them are alkies. Maybe another quarter of them are cheating on their wives. And I'm supposed to disguise the moral high ground telling me? You know what I'm saying? No.
Well, yeah, these doctors have... You have no idea how many little samples they get from pharmaceutical companies, and they just hand these things out. Who knows what's stocked in there? And that stuff's not really regulated. It's the doctors, they probably have a list somewhere of how many they have. But they don't. It's not regulated like a prescription drug is, so they can just hand out whatever. And if they take them home, who's going to know? Who's going to know the difference?
Like Sol just said in the chat room, it's the appeal to authority. They have a white lab coat and a degree, so they must know everything.
Oh yeah, 10 years of college. That guarantees that you are the speaker of all truth and you know all.
You know what 10 years of college proves to me? You got one hell of a student debt. That's what that proves to me. You have a lot of student loans out. You owe a lot of money. So you will do and say what you have to pay off said student loans.
Exactly. That's the key. That's the key right there. You're going to do, and you're going to go along with whoever tells you, whoever's responsible for that debt, or whoever will, help you out, quote unquote, with that debt. You're going to do exactly what they tell you to do, and not say a word about it. You're just going to do it and live your life.
I can't stand doctors. The bad ones. There are still good ones out there. There are still good ones out there, just like there are still good police officers. And by the way, I want to sidetrack myself for a second with this, and I want to give a shout-out, because the other day I had a police officer, and I won't mention his name, but he's a law enforcement officer out in the West Coast, we'll say. I don't want to get him in any trouble or anything, but he's a law enforcement officer out in the West Coast, and he's a longtime listener to the broadcast, and he actually messaged me the other day just to let me know that he thinks I'm doing a great job or whatever, but he wanted to, he made it a point to let me know that there are good police officers out there that are actually tuning in and listening to the broadcast, and they agree with what I say. They agree with the thing. If I point out something that a bad cop does, there are good cops out there that agree with us, guys. So there still is hope. Don't think that every police officer is an idiot. Yeah, unfortunately, the bad ones outnumber the good ones nowadays, but there still are good ones out there. And we need to make sure that just as much as we point out the bad ones and say, oh, this guy's a dick, he tasered a pregnant woman or whatever, if there's a good police officer out there, we need to give him kudos too. We need to make sure that the police understand that we're just trying to point out the bad apples, because a lot of what's happening is, and this is what I see this is just my view on it, okay, and I've discussed this with other people and they feel the same way. A lot of this, oh, did you see what this cop did? And did this cop, he tasered and beat or whatever. You ever notice it's always all over the mainstream nowadays? This was never in the mainstream 7-8 years ago. Once in a while, something big. But now it's all the time you see it, right? Why do you think that is? That's so that they piss us off against the police officers, and then they keep stoking the police officers, telling them that John Q. Public is a terrorist and they don't like them and they have no respect for cops and everything else. We're being played against each other.
Yeah, well, it's the same thing as the race war. This race war has been going on for years and years. It's the exact same thing. They keep us playing, they're playing us against each other so that we hate each other. And as long as we stay apart and as long as we're divided, we can't get anything done. And it's the same thing, just like you're saying. There are a lot of good cops out there. There's a lot of good cops, a lot of good doctors. There's a lot of good people out there, but for years and years, the bad ones were swept under the rug, and that needs to be known. But like you said, if somebody does something good, a good cop or a good doctor or whatever, then they need to be held up, just as much. So
yeah, because we have to have that balance. Because I'm not trying to put out there that you should hate every cop. Yeah, unfortunately nowadays, what we have, what you would call police officers, are not what they used to be. They used to be peace officers. Unfortunately, it's not that way anymore. We could fix that. It's not that you can't, help people to understand that perhaps they've been led awry with their thoughts on the general public and whatever. It is possible. Will you always have one or two bad apples? Of course. You'll always have somebody, right? But it's really how you deal with it. Letting the scumbaggery go and not handle it and not doing anything about it is not the answer either. I think people personally, would have more respect for police departments around the world if they actually started to police their own. And actually, if a cop did something wrong and when they get, because they do, I mean, they're humans. This is the problem. People, the position of police officer has been turned into a superhero status, right? So that way when someone is a police officer and they do something bad, people are so astonished. Oh my God, how could he have done this? Because he's a human just like you or me. We're all the same people. That's just a job. It's just a costume that he's wearing. It's just an outfit. And people lose sight of that. They assume that the power. Some people that put the uniform on assume that that uniform gives them the power. They don't have any power. The uniform does. When you take your costume off and put that thing in the closet, when superheroes, when they go back to their civilian identity, right? Does anybody, if Peter Parker walks down the street and people don't know who he is, do they go, oh my God, it's Spider-Man? Nope. They only scream and yell, oh my God, it's Spider-Man, when he's wearing a Spider-Man costume and shooting webs out of his hands. Same thing. It's the costume. It's not the person. It's not that cop. And unfortunately, there are cops that buy into that. Oh yeah, we beat this person or beat that person. But there still are good ones out there, and you guys are the ones, hopefully, that can start to turn the tide. Introduce the younger crowd to Oath Keepers and stuff. Let them know what's going on. Let them know that, hey, this isn't cool. You guys took an oath to defend the Constitution. And this is important. we're never going to get through this if we fight each other. It's as simple as that. We're never going to get through this if we continue to fight each other. And I don't want to be responsible for, just putting out the negative stuff. I will always point out if a police officer or anybody in a position of authority or power or whatever you want to call it does something like that, does something wrong. I will always point it out. But I will always, if it's brought to my attention, make a point of pointing out the fact that there are good people too, because there are. Unfortunately,
though, a lot of the good things they do go unnoticed, and they just kind of get passed over.
Squeaky wheel gets the grease, bro.
Right, and we don't really hear about it, so we can't really say it all the time. I'm sure every single day there's good things. I grew up in a household with a police officer, and he was a jerk, and he was my stepfather, and he actually patrolled in the town with a Jack and Coke in the car. I mean, he would be half liquored up when he's patrolling, and then have the gall to actually pull somebody over for drunk driving. I mean, I had a disdain for police officers right off the bat, and then I learned as I grew up and as I got older that they weren't all like that. I found out that there were some really good ones out there.
Well, it's the truth, man. There are still people that care. The reason why people, I think, are so amazed, dude, is because there's this lack of communication between everyone. In fact, we were just talking about this at that yoga class I was at earlier today, the warrior yoga connected warrior class. In fact, in hour 2, we're going to cover this because this is an important thing. Lack of communication kills everything, whether it's business relationships, personal relationships, or our country and humanity. Lack of communication. It's the simple things, ladies and gentlemen. Hour 1 up, hour 2 coming up. Don't go anywhere. Johnny and I will be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with hour number 2 here on tonight's live edition of Down the Rabbit Hole. I am your host, Popeye from FederalJack.com. It is January 6th, 2013. 2012 went by like that. I don't even blinked and it was over. It's just like, I remember coming on air and saying, January whatever, 2012, oh my God, the dreaded year 2012, blah, blah, blah. And here 2012's come, gone, and we're already in 2013. Time is just flying by, ladies and gentlemen. Today, joining me for episode 2 of Cutting Through the BS is my good friend and brother from another mother. Listen to me, mutter.
Mutter?
Yeah. Her mother was a mother.
What is it, 1920?
You see why I like when Johnny comes on?
Yeah, see? Yeah.
Oh, God. Old school gangsters. Hey, see?
Yeah, it's mutter. Yeah.
Cool.
Hey, do you know Nixon was held as a foreign policy genius at the centennial of his birth?
Who said that?
That just came over the wire on Reuters.
Of course. Oh, well, look where it's coming from. It's like the AP. There's like 3 guys that sit in an office. That's what the AP is. It's like 3 or 4 people deciding what it sends out to all these different affiliates. And then people put it out, oh my God, from the Associated Press.
Yeah, no mention of the you-know-what was ever mentioned at all. The Watergate scandal was never even talked about, which... whatever, but... You know what's interesting when you research... I'm glad you brought actually Nixon up. You know what's interesting when you look into JFK's assassination? And I always grew up thinking Nixon was a scumbag, right? Like most people. Oh, Nixon was a dick. And I'm not saying he wasn't, not defending him. But... And he was a snake. But one has to wonder what he knew. Because from what I've seen, he might have been set up in Watergate. And I've seen enough evidence to really lead me to believe that he was set up with Watergate because he was starting to look into things that he shouldn't have been looking into. And people above him were like, nope, got to put the kibosh on it. Well, that actually kind of relates to the story because he was such a good foreign policy guy that he knew all the leaders around the world and he studied them and knew them really well. So I wonder if some of them maybe knew something that had come, because there's always been thoughts about JFK. Somehow the Russians are involved, and all these different mafias, and all these different things. You kind of makes you wonder if he maybe started gathering information from some foreign leaders. So, I mean, that's just my take on it. I could be wrong.
It makes one wonder.
God, I hate when you leave me hanging like that. We were just talking about the volleyball bouncing off.
I know. I did it on purpose.
Just went right by your head.
No, I did it on purpose.
I know you did. Oh.
I see. I can't. It's a back and forth between myself and Johnny. Ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, this happens quite a bit. You're probably gonna hear a lot of ball busting going on. So go ahead, sir.
No, I'll be nice. I'll stay serious for a second. I'll stay on point. There's something else I'd like to bring up before we get too sidetracked, because if we stay on Nixon and foreign policy and JFK, I could stay there for an hour and debate stuff. But before we get too sidetracked on it, there's something else I want to bring up that you brought up earlier, and I thought this was a little, I don't know, hysterically funny doesn't seem to cover it. I thought it. I guess it empowers people. Apparently, according to an appeals court, motorists cannot be stopped for flipping off cops. And I wanted to bring this up before, but I completely forgot about it. So that's why I wanted to bring it up again.
All I can say is bravo.
Usually I don't agree with court decisions, I have to admit. But I got to say, this one? It seems to... and this isn't a pun because it was an appeals court, but it seems to appeal to me, because how many times have you wanted to flip a cop off and you're like, yeah, he's going to pull me over if I give him the finger? Well, apparently, according to an appeals court, motorists cannot be stopped simply for giving police the finger. Now, I'm sure if you give a cop the finger, he's going to pull up behind you, run your license plate, and if you have a taillight out, pull you over. So,
yeah, it's going to draw attention to you no matter what. But
it's nice that you can't be pulled over just for flipping the cop off. Because how many times do cops, drive like putzes? At least some of them. Again, not all of them. But there are people that take advantage of the fact that they have a car that's nice and shiny with red and blue lights on it. And let's be honest, they in their off hours, they drive their cars around if they have take-home cars, and they do blow red lights and stuff. So, I mean, down here, apparently, did you ever see that video of the cop?
Yes.
Where she pulled over the other...
I already know where you're going with it, yes.
She's got death threats from multiple police agencies down here, including, this kills me, Hollywood Police Department, FHP itself, which she was an FHP trooper, Miami Police, and a bunch of other local police departments around here went and they used the system that police officers have access to, and they accessed her records, and they got access to all her information, her bank account numbers, her email, her home phone, her address, her social security number. She's been getting calls, threats, pranks, stuff ordered to her house, pizzas ordered to her. Apparently, she's afraid to actually leave her house now. She's in fear for... This was in the Sun Sentinel, which is like a local, the area newspaper, kind of like the Miami Herald. So it's not like this is some stuff made up. Somebody's just thrown it out there on a website. I mean, these are local area, the mainstream media in the area is picking this story up. And it just blows my mind. And nobody... that they pick it up, but the big you don't see CBS or ABC, and it really doesn't blow my mind. That's just an expression. I know why they don't cover it, but here you see cops harassing other cops, and I've seen it. The one when she first pulled over the cop up here, it was either her or another state trooper who they take their cars home, and they usually report in. The state troopers usually, they put the uniform on, get in their car, and they call in from their driveway, and then they're off patrolling as soon as they pull out. And apparently he had his car parked in his house, and whatever local police department was pissed at them, came by, and they took, I think it was like 5 gallons of human feces and smeared it from bumper to bumper. There's pictures of it. I have it up on Federal Jack. This is like a couple months ago.
Are you serious?
Dude, I swear to God, it was like, I want to say like 5 gallons of it or something. Like it literally from bumper to bumper, the whole driver's side of the car was covered with like liquid human feces. I could not make this up. This is what they do to each other.
Well, because it's like a club. It's almost like a gang. I mean, it really is. It's like a public, funded gang, because it'd be the same thing as if a gang member goes and turns another guy in for selling crack or something, and then that guy is going to get, well, he'll probably end up getting killed if he's in a gang, but it's the same thing. You went against your brotherhood, and now they're going to make you pay for it. And that's why good cops, that's why they have a hard time coming forward with things when they know something, is because of that. They know what's going to happen.
They do. They do. Dude, you know, I know Thin Blue Line. I know they cover, they take care of their own, that whole thing. But the opposite side of that is what you just brought up. That if a cop does try to be the good cop, like we said, you should prosecute your own and blah, blah, blah. If he tries to actually do that, look what happens to him. Right? I mean, how many good movies are made out there?
And in the South, I'm telling you right now, I grew up in the South, and a lot of these backwoods towns and things like that, like the one I grew up in, where my stepdad's driving around.
Crooked as the day is long, dude.
Southern justice, my friend. Southern justice. You don't want to piss those cops off because, you know, they're going to get even with you some way, shape, or form. And there's, you know, I've heard stories of these quote unquote rogue cops, and they ended up, you know, disappearing. They have an accident. They, you know, whatever. Somebody shoots them in the line of duty or something. I mean, it happens all the time. You just don't hear about it.
It's amazing how many times people, like low-level dirtbag thugs, are used to off police officers or other people in what's made to look like a robbery or whatever else. This stuff happens, ladies and gentlemen, and yes, that means it would have to be a conspiracy. We're going to break. We'll be right back. We are back. And ladies and gentlemen, I can't stress to you enough that you need to get involved and step up the fight against the gun confiscation and gun control agenda. And don't be fooled. Don't let anybody tell you, we don't want to take your weapons. Let me tell you something. Feinstein's on record as saying that she would make everybody give up their weapons if she could. Okay? Don't think that these tyrants wouldn't pass laws. And by the way, just because they pass a law doesn't mean it's legal and doesn't mean it's right. But they will, because they're completely disconnected from the rest of us. And it's not because people think that, oh, these politicians, it's because they have money and it's because of it. No. It's because they have a taste of power. And it's because they end up getting involved in whether it's a secret society or some shady organization or whatever. And then one day they end up in a compromising position and they don't know it. There's cameras and stuff in there. And then, bam, you're now controlled. And you will do whatever you're told. Now, people like Feinstein, who knows if they have dirt on her? And I don't think it matters. I mean, she's really out to change this country fundamentally. She doesn't think you should have the right to defend yourself. You know why? Because she wants to her, and it's not really, she's not in charge, I shouldn't say she, but her and people like her and more powerful than her politically want to change your very way of life. They want to take away your rights. They want to force you to not be able to defend yourself. Okay, like the Brady campaign. I've talked about this. Did you see this poster or whatever the frig it is? It's on I've seen it on Facebook a few times. It's literally, I thought this was a joke, but it's from the Brady campaign, and it's like a black and red one, and there might be other colors, but I remember the black and red, and it's basically a chick. She's on her knees, right, and she's got her head in her hands, and like her head is, her knees are pressed against her chest, and her head's on her knees, and her hands are on her head, like she's holding herself, like you can see, like she's really stressed. And it says, "A rape lasts 30 seconds, a murder lasts a lifetime. There is no crime worth taking another human life." So basically, they're advocating rape. I about fell out of my desk chair when I saw that, dude. For real. Like the other night, I mentioned this. Like, great advice, dickheads. Okay? Great advice. Ladies, here's my advice. Some scumbag tries to rape you and you have a gun, you shoot the son of a bitch. If you don't have a gun, you get a knife and you stab the son of a bitch. And you cut his Johnson off and stuff it in his mouth. Okay? End of rape.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely end the rape.
You want to see how you handle yourself in a situation like that? You know, you want to see how you handle yourself? Go watch the movie Enough with Jennifer Lopez. Okay? Watch the ending of it. She learns self-defense, and then she goes and she kicks the guy's ass when he tries to attack her. Same thing, okay? If somebody tries to do you harm, don't let some idiot in a suit, some douchebag bureaucrat, or anybody else tell you you don't have the right to defend yourself. That's horse crap. You do what you got to do. And if that includes cutting homeboy's Johnson off and stuffing it in his mouth because he's a scumbag, rapist piece of crap, well, hey, you shouldn't be a rapist piece of crap. What can I tell you?
5 words for you. And this is a movie I do not suggest to anyone who has a queasy stomach. I spit on your grave. I promise you, after watching that, you would never, ever raise a hand to a woman again for any reason. Well, you shouldn't. I mean, look, honestly, I know right now, I know there's the expression, guys will say, oh, well, women can push you. Yeah, I understand that. Okay, but a lot of that has to do with society and the things that are pushed on them. And if you look deeper and you understand things at more than just face value, it'll make it a little bit easier. But regardless, the only time you should ever raise a hand to a woman is if she's coming at you to do you like imminent harm. Like if she's coming to stab you or hit you with something, well, then you got to drop her. I mean, you got to do what you got to do. I mean, I had a chick come at me with a butcher knife when I put her against a wall. I didn't hurt her, I didn't punch her, but I did pick her up and put her against the wall and keep her from stabbing me. So, I mean, you can defend yourself, but hitting a woman because you're pissed off or just beating up on a woman because you think you can and it makes you feel good, you're a pussy. And if you're a rapist, you're even a bigger pussy. For real. Oh, absolutely.
And there's guys that there's guys that rape other guys. I mean, we were talking about during that class today, I brought up the fact that there's a lot of sexual trauma in the military that isn't reported, and I was pointing this out just to let them know, some of the stuff that they go through. And one of the important points that I pointed out was the fact that I think it's like 25% of the rapes in the military, or so, it's like 20 or 25% or something like that, are males being raped. And it's not like a guy's getting raped by like 6 girls, because I don't think any... Unless, I don't know, I can't think of any guy, no guy I know would cry rape if 6 girls jumped on him and tore his clothes off. Okay, so obviously it is happening where it's guys being raped by other guys. And I'm sure maybe there are women that rape guys. I mean, I guess it could happen. You know what I mean? But it's more often it's the guys, unfortunately, doing the most of the raping and pillaging, as it were. And it's horrible. I mean, the sexual assault rate in the military is through the roof. It's just ridiculous.
Well, and they even started downplaying in the prisons, because everybody knows it happens in prison, and even the media started downplaying that, saying, "Oh, that doesn't happen. That's just blown out of proportion. That doesn't happen." And then,
what do they expect when you lock dudes up with each other for years on end?
Well, yeah, and then I've talked to guys that spent time in prison, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, it happens." It happens all the time. So, I'd rather believe somebody that's actually been there than believe some idiot on the news who has 5 pounds of makeup on trying to tell me that it doesn't happen anymore. No, it happens. It happens
more than people think. I mean, in the military, when it comes to women, I think it's 1 in 4. Suffer sexual trauma. If you're a female and you're listening and you haven't enlisted in the military yet and you're thinking about it, don't. I'm what they call the anti-recruiter, okay? I will never tell you to go join any of the 5 branches. Do not. You're not serving your country or your people like you think you are. You're serving a global government. You're serving the UN. And they will use you, abuse you, and toss you to the side. It's not honorable anymore. I have a lot of friends that are dead for no good reason. And that's one of the reasons the suicide rate is so high, because a lot of these kids are realizing, and older people or whoever, the military people in general, are realizing what's going on. When they come back here, some of it is adjustment, but a lot of it, part of it they have a problem with adjusting to is because they realized that they killed civilians that were, for, lack of a better term, defending their own territory.
Oh, yeah, odds are. I bet you could look at a majority of the suicides, majority of the military suicides, and a lot of them probably were in combat situations, and they probably had to kill civilians. And they probably figured out that, hey, we're not here for what they said we were here, and these people were not our enemy. And then they sit there and can't fathom whether they have kids or whether they know someone that has kids or someone in their family, and they realize what they've done, and they can't handle it, so they end it.
Dude, I talked about that today. Guys come back, you get into a firefight, you're in the middle of a war zone. Everybody can say, oh, I wouldn't do this or I wouldn't do that. Put yourself in a situation where you're being fired upon by a 14-year-old kid with an AK-47, or worse yet, the kid's going to pick up an RPG. You know how many times I've heard stories of guys where they were yelling, kid, drop it, waving, don't pick it up, and they're holding their rifle down at their side, waving to the kid not to do it, and the kid reached for the RPG, and they had no choice, because if they didn't, he would have fired at them. And then they come home, and they have a 14-year-old son, and they have to look at their 14-year-old son knowing they just killed a kid the same age. I know somebody that put a bullet in his head because of that. A good friend of mine, he's gone because he couldn't handle that. That kind of crap happens. That's the reality of the situation. We need to stop sending our men and women into that type of crap. We're going to break. We'll be right back. So, you all know how I feel about the Iraq War, the Afghan War, all these useless, endless wars on garbage that waste money and our young men and women and their potential. I think they're all garbage. I think they're all crap. And we need to stop backing this stuff. We need to stop saying, well, it's okay, what, or, well, what am I going to do? Or, I'm powerless. Or, well, I had someone argue with me the other day. Well, the whole reason for this stuff is because of terrorists. If the damn terrorists didn't attack us on 9/11, then we wouldn't need this police state. We weren't attacked by terrorists on 9/11. Stop buying the official story. The only terrorists that have attacked this country are the douchebags that wear Armani suits. They wear $10,000 suits, not rags on their head. The ones with the rags on their head are their little puppets.
Yeah, look at the ones that own the Federal Reserve. Those are the terrorists.
Exactly. Let me ask you a question. Did bin Laden go to Congress and tell them, either you give us the bailout or we'll declare martial law? No. That was Hank Paulson, the Treasury Secretary.
Wait, didn't the terrorists cause the housing bubble to burst?
Well, that was bin Laden.
Oh. Okay.
He runs the Federal Reserve, don't you know?
Oh, okay.
Him and Al-Qaeda. I mean, it's ridiculous, dude. People just look at who causes the problems in this world. And this isn't, socialist, Occupy Wall Street type speak. I'm being honest. Who are the morons? I'm not saying it's all Wall Street or business or corporatocracy or blah. I mean, that's a lot of it, but it goes way higher than that.
Dude, most of the people that work in Wall Street and work in the banking system don't even know what's going on. They're just concerned. They grew up, they went to college, they got a job, and they're raising their family.
Idiots.
Yeah, they're just pawns. They're pawns in this entire Ponzi scheme.
Yep. It's all a fraud. And I'm tired of seeing people getting shot, young kids coming back missing limbs, having PTSD. I'm just really sick and tired of it. I'm sick and tired of seeing a system that doesn't care about them. I'm sick and tired of seeing people that are paper supporters. I put a yellow ribbon on my oak tree. Ooh.
God.
Aren't you quite the patriot? You really want to be a patriot and you want to support the troops? Stop sending them to die for bullshit. That's how you support the troops. Stop sending them to die for lies. You want to support the troops? Let's start to arrest the war criminals like Bush or Obama or Clinton.
Oh, wait a minute.
Or Cheney.
Weren't the Democrats, when the Democrats win, they're anti-war? What are you talking about, Obama?
Yeah. Anti-war. Right. Unless they're the ones in charge flying the drones around like a Nintendo game, right?
They're all the same people.
Of course they are.
They're all the same.
This crap has to stop. And this isn't, what are you, a lefty? No, I'm tired of, why do we have to kill? For real, why can we not focus our attention on fixing problems instead of bombing the crap out of everything? Because that's our only answer to things is, well, let's kill everything and set it on fire and, burn everything to the ground. What is that answer? You know how many times have I said before, we could solve more problems if we did things like build desalination plants along the coasts and figure out a way to bring in the water, from there and pipe it throughout different substations and stuff throughout different countries to bring fresh water to people that don't have it. If people could eat and had fresh water and had shelter over their heads and clean air to breathe, that's basically the human necessities. Most people would be satisfied with that. Most people on this planet wouldn't go invade another country and try to take all of their stuff and kill all of their people. They would be satisfied as long as they had food, air, shelter, and water. But when you deny that to people, look, let's be honest, dude. Who's more willing to go join an organization and strike at you? Somebody who's got all this stuff and stands to lose all of this if they join that group? Or someone who has already lost everything because of you? Who do you think's more apt to come strike you? It's basic common sense. I'm a radio show host. 5 minutes. I just answered a simple problem. What? You're going to tell me these politicians can't do that, dude? And if they can't, then it's time to throw them out and get people in that will solve the problems.
It's not a left-right issue, and people stop making it a left and right issue. This is a human issue. This has nothing to do with left and right and Democrat, Republican. It has nothing to do with it. It's all about human beings.
You got that right.
Part. And that's what everybody's forgetting, because everybody's so caught up in this stupid left-right paradigm, they can't pull their head out of their ass long enough to realize these are human beings just like you. Just like you.
Just because they live in Afghanistan or Iraq, or they live in the desert, so they deserve it because they're below us. Or really? How arrogant and how retarded are you to even think like that? How would you like if somebody came over to our country and started doing drone strikes? Well, I guess it would be different, wouldn't it? Then we'd be under attack. We'd be justified in fighting back. But the people in their country aren't justified in fighting back. Yeah, they did a poll in Afghanistan, I think it was like 2 years ago now. It was like around the 9th or 10th anniversary of 9/11. They did a poll in Afghanistan of the fighting age men. And something like 97 or 98% of them didn't even know what 9/11 was. Had no clue. The only thing they knew, that there was a foreign invader in their country, and they were fighting to make them leave, just like they did the Soviets. That's all they knew. They didn't know terrorism, bin Laden, 9/11, this, that, the other thing. They didn't know about any of that. But yet our teachers here in this country are teaching the little kids today. I've seen videos of this. They're teaching kids today that the reason we're in Afghanistan fighting is because the people of Afghanistan hate us for our freedom and want to kill us. Go look it up. You can find the video on YouTube. You'll see reports about it. Go look it up. This is what they're teaching the kids, that the people of Afghanistan, the people, the citizens, like you and me, they're teaching little kids now, 4 or 5 years old. They're evil. They want to kill us for our freedoms. Ladies and gentlemen, let me make one thing perfectly clear. If the terrorists hated us for our freedoms, they must love us now, because we don't have any more freedom. And if their goal was to get our freedoms destroyed and have them taken away from us, mission accomplished. So either way, the terrorists have won. The real way to fight quote-unquote terrorism would to live freer than ever. To stand up in the face of that and say, I'm not afraid of your garbage. I'm not going to give up my freedom because of some oogity-boogity, scary, bad boogeyman in a closet or in a cave. That's how you stand up to that crap. So then one must look at this whole thing and go, is it really about protecting us? No, it's not. And, as I said often before, an organization that requires fear to control you and keep you in line and keep you a part of it has something very wrong with it. If they need to play on your fear and your emotion to get you to listen to what they have to say and do what they want you to do, there's a problem with it. It's that simple. And you have to look deeper. You have to have the courage to ask the tough questions. A lot of people don't want to face this stuff because it's too, I guess, uncomfortable is a good word. It puts them in a position that they're, I don't like talking about that. No, you need to be uncomfortable. The uncomfortable things need to be talked about and discussed. We need to stop pussyfooting around about this stuff and being afraid to talk about it with other people. Be the person that stands up. I know it's rough to be the first person in a room that starts talking about this stuff. You don't have to stand up and start screaming 9/11 was an inside job. Look, if you're in a room full of people and everybody's, talking about health, slyly bring up fluoride, bring up GMOs or vaccines. There's a way to do it. But stand up and be heard, especially about your Second Amendment rights. We're going to break. We'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Final segment of today's live edition of Down the Rabbit Hole. Make sure you tune in tomorrow. I'll be back on air tomorrow, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here on Orion. And I want to give a shout-out to my buddy Martin, still active duty Coast Guard, working as we speak. I believe he's tuned in listening. Give him a shout-out. Busting his butt. I would say about 3,000 miles away from his family. The guy doesn't get a chance to spend too much time with his family because he's busy serving in the Guard right now. He's still active. He's been in for a long, long time. Big shout-out. Thanks, Martin, for all you do, buddy. He's a good guy. All right, ladies and gentlemen, before we went into break, Johnny and I were discussing the freedom, right? We got a little serious. We were discussing the state of affairs. And Johnny brought up a good point during the break about how free you really think this country is compared to how free it really is. And Johnny, I want you to make that point on air because I think it's spot on what you said. Go ahead and tell listeners what you told me.
Yeah, if you think you're free and you own an assault rifle, whether it's an M16, AK, whatever it is, go ahead and strap that on, okay? And get you a flak jacket and get you about a 3 or 4 foot Bowie knife and hang it on your belt, on your little belt there, and walk outside and walk down Main Street from end to end. I promise you, before you reach the end, you're going to find out exactly how free you really are. Now, just think about that. Nothing's banned yet. There is no ban on assault rifles right now. It's coming, but it's not here yet. So you strap that bad boy on, and your big smile and your BDUs. Matter of fact, throw some BDUs on too.
Yeah, and if you got a vest or anything, put that on too.
Yeah, definitely a flak jacket, some kind of vest, and maybe even hang a nice little, what are those things called that they put the shells in that they strap over they throw over their shoulders?
Bandoliers? Yeah,
bandolier. Throw a bandolier full of rifle shells that'll fit the fancy little rifle you've got over your shoulder.
Yeah, there you go. Get like a bandolier of 100 bullets.
Yeah.
And like strap it over your shoulder like 223 rounds. Like, you know how Chewbacca has his going across his? Like wear that, like across your chest there, like a sash. Walk around with your AR-15. And you know what? You know what else, Johnny? Aside from the knife, if anybody's got one of those SOG or whoever else, whatever other company you have, the hatchets, the tomahawks.
Oh yeah,
hand-to-hand combat, like the Special Forces tomahawks.
Yep,
those things rock, by the way. But if you have one of those, strap that to your thigh as well. And if you got a pistol, you might as well just put your thigh holster on and strap that baby on your thigh.
Exactly.
And then go just parade up and down Main Street, singing like I'm, proud to be an American, or at least I think I'm free, and just keep repeating that to yourself as you walk up and down the street. And within 5 minutes, you'll make new friends.
In the form of a drone, probably, but
they'll be dressed just like you.
And you don't even have to have the weapon in your hands. I'm talking to strap it on your back, just like they strap them on their backs, when they're just kind of lollygagging around. When I was in the military, it's we just throw them on our backs and we're just eating chow or whatever. Just throw it on your back. You don't even have to hold it in your hands. You could actually be swaying your hands back and forth as you're singing "Proud to be an American." You could just sway it back and forth. And I promise you, you're going to find out exactly how free you really are.
Yeah, you definitely won't be singing Kumbaya with the people that respond. I can tell you that.
Just don't call me collect from prison. That's all I'm going to say. I will not accept your call.
And obviously, it was like a rhetorical type challenge. It wasn't really meant for someone to go, okay, I'll do it. No.
I really hope somebody doesn't do that.
Yeah,
no.
I don't recommend you actually do that because it will turn out badly.
Right, and we need another disclaimer on the front page of the site, please. Tim, get on.
Right? Like, if a host gives a suggestion.
Did that little warning play before the show about these are the opinions of the show and not Orion? Did that play?
It usually does.
Can we play that like every break?
Every segment going back in. Oh, you kill me, dude. Before we run out of time, there's something I want to address that we talked about the first hour a little bit. We only had a few minutes left, so I want to make sure I get this out there. Lack of communication. You know, when a body gets sick and cancer or other diseases spread, a lot of it, especially cancer, when a body's sick or out of harmony with itself, a lot of that starts with a break somewhere in the communication of the body, right? There's signals and stuff are getting cross-referenced, and a lot of times diseases like autoimmune diseases and things you see where the body attacks itself and stuff like that. And a lot of it, if you break it down and you look at it, sometimes you'll realize it's some of these diseases and stuff are caused by the body just being out of, or all disease pretty much is caused by the body being out of harmony. There's this fine balance. Remember I played the stuff on Friday about the Schumann resonance. There's this fine balance to life. And when that balance is thrown off, you get sick, right? Disease comes from dis-ease inside the body. And a lot of that is lack of communication with cells within the body and things like that. Now, if your body can get sick because of that, imagine the country or society as a human body, and all of us are cells. If we're not communicating with each other, if we're not working properly with each other, things start to break down. Relationships start to break down, and they die and they wither, right? You don't talk to your wife. You don't have any communication with her. You guys are going to start to have fights. She's not going to understand you. You're not going to understand her. Same thing with friends, family, business relationships. Well, what about politics? What about countries? Now, what if, just ponder this for a minute. What if you understood all of this? You understood how to control people like that, as I've talked about many times. And what if you knew that it served you best to keep everybody not communicating and talking and separate by different divisions, black, white, purple, polka dots, male, female, whatever. How many? I could go on. There's a bazillion different divisions. What if we all just started communicating with each other and realized that we are all human? What if we all just started giving love to each other? And this isn't some new age hippy-dippy crap. I'm being totally serious. If you want to defeat the New World Order, you want a plan, everybody always says, well, I want a solution to how do we solve the problems? How do we end things? I want a solution. Give me an answer. Give me an answer. Well, here's an answer. I've talked about changing from within. I've given you all that stuff already, right? I've told you that's the way to do it. That's from what my research has shown me, from what I can see, that's the best way to do it. So now I'm challenging you, I guess. Step up and do it. Do something. It doesn't mean you have to get in a bullhorn. You want to change things? Start just doing random acts of kindness. I'm not kidding. That will change things. You know, a big pond, it could be 300, 400 feet across. And I could take a tiny stone and chuck it into the pond, and the ripple from the splash will still be felt all the way across the pond. It might not be a huge ripple, but it will still be felt all the way across the pond. That's the way it works. Now imagine if I took handfuls of little pebbles and threw them up into the air, and they all come down. Many more splashes, many more ripples. I say it all the time, and I'll say it again. I'm telling you, I'm going to get bumper stickers made up that say this. The solutions to our problems are an inside job. It's as simple as that. And then we won't need these idiots in power. We won't need the appeal to authority anymore because we won't look to authority figures, to some, to that archetype to come save us. We'll look to ourselves. And that's when the problems will really actually start to get solved. Because politicians certainly do not solve any problems. So there's my rant for the end of the broadcast. Johnny, we got a few minutes left. What are your final thoughts?
I totally agree. If you strip all the skin away and you strip everything away and you take what's inside of us, we're all the same. We're all the same on the inside, and that's a fact. The bad side of town isn't the side of town that you've been told is the bad side of town. Those people aren't worse off than you. Got people with bad credit and people with, they make bad financial decisions. Doesn't mean they're a bad person because they live in a worse looking house than you do or anything else. It doesn't make them bad people. It means that they're, a little less fortunate. They made some bad decisions or they were born into it. So this outer shell that we constantly stare at each other and make fun and do the things and react the way that we react is not the right way to do things. Okay, it's not the right way. We have to do all this. You can fix everything from within. You have to start with yourself, love yourself, and then you can love others. And that's pretty much it. It's a simple fix. It really is.
It is. And I know it sounds cheesy, but it's the truth. And you're right. You can't love anyone until you learn to love yourself. And once you learn to love yourself, you start to forgive yourself for a lot of mistakes you've made throughout your life because we've all done them. And you'll realize that a lot of your roadblocks that were actually in your head, they are self-created. And you start to give yourself a little more love and stop putting so much negativity to yourself. You start to realize that. But this is all because we've been programmed to think, and judge ourselves. We have to deprogram ourselves. That's why I do the broadcasts I do. That's why I try to always put out a positive message at least once during the broadcast. Johnny, we're out of time. Thanks for hanging out. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in for episode 2 of Cutting Through the BS with my good friend Johnny English. Make sure you tune in to him on Saturday nights. What is it, 7 to 10, right?
Yeah, I got 3 hours now, 7 to 10 p.m. East on every Saturday night, OrionTalkRadio.com.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Tune in. As always, I love you all. Look to yourself for the answers to your problems, ladies and gentlemen. I'm out of here. I'll see you tomorrow night.